Welcome back to another video. Today I'm discussing Deku in My Hero Academia and how well he would do. Now, I first was thinking about how long I should make this video, saying, oh, should it be who would do better, Deku in Black Clover, or Asta in My Hero? But I've just decided to make them two separate videos, so just less editing on my part. Anyway, if you put Asta in My Hero first, we would have to set the ground basis and set the ground facts on what he can personally do. Because if you just transported Asta straight into My Hero, he absolutely just thrashes the verse. But if we take episode 1 Asta and contort him, make him My Hero adjacent. For example, his quirk would be that he can nullify all quirks, just like Aizawa, but more in a physical sense. While he can still have Libe as his companion, but it can be an awakened form that he can use if his quirk is ever really pushed to a limit in a fight, instead of a form he can use every so often. Of course, he can at the end of the story, which will allow him to have good combative control against Shirazaki and All For One in that fight, of course. But within that, now we establish his quirks. Just like the beginning of Black Clover, in the beginning of My Hero, he would absolutely thrash every single body. His physical dominance, physical stature, and along with his quirk, he would be outstandingly able to beat everyone's breaks off. Like this with the swords, the combinations, come on now. And the swords come up because of the byproduct of his quirk, just like it would do for his Grimoire. Within that, he would nullify Aizawa's quirk, even though Aizawa is probably the best teacher for him, since Aizawa sort of has the same quirk. He would be able to fight against Bakugo and exceedingly fight against everybody in Class 1A. Now, I'm going to put him in Class 1A just because he is replacing Deku in the story, even though he would not get into Class 1A. He does not have the smarts of Deku. If I could give Deku this credit, Deku is an insanely hard studier and he's a super fan, so he knows the weaknesses, the ins and outs of almost every quirk that he has run across, just because he is able to take notes on them. Asta just does not do that. He likes running headfirst, and he'll just figure it out on the way. Within that, if you give him the first couple of villains that Deku faces, whether it's Slain, that little Nomu, even though All Might got to deal with that one, he wins with little to no effort. But since he is within that verse, he does not kill anybody. Just because something would be holding him back. His moral compass would be holding him back, even though Asta has no qualms about killing in the Black Clover verse. Within that, so he would beat Slain, he would beat Bakugo, he would beat Todoroki in the little tournament arc. Of course, now you would have to jump straight forward into maybe the final war, because if you really want to go to the Class 2A, where he meets Eri and he has to do that little fight, we know that outcome of the fight would be Asta winning. He really wouldn't have to need Eri's help to really be pushed to that limit. To be pushed to that limit, of course. That's mad loud. I'm sorry, something just fell and I refuse to edit that out. Anyway, my fault. He is so Eddie would be consistently pushing him to that limit, and maybe that's where you would see his awakened form, as in the Devil Union form with Libe. Now, of course, he would never get to the his full power of Devil Union, but let's just say he does. Off the benefactor, like, this will be something you have never seen before, and he would be the strongest within the series from then and there on, while training, gathering intel, understanding more about his quirk until he is fully awakened and fully can go into that mode back and forth. And within that, in that final war, he's wiping the floor with everybody. He would have no problems with Deku. As we know in Black Clover, a lot of the villains he faces has abilities, not essentially that they're stronger than Asta, is that their abilities can counteract and can fully neutralize Asta, even though nothing neutralizes Asta. Asta neutralizes you. Asta neutralizes every quirk, and nothing can really stop him. All for One could probably throw a couple of things at him that can really push Asta, but once that Devil Union kick in, yeah, nah. And he essentially would only have one sword, because that second sword he only gets that second sword where he's able to absorb magic. I just don't think that's fair for him to absorb quirks and use the other abilities, just because he found that in a dungeon via Black Clover, via the plots, and since he's in a different story whatsoever, he just doesn't get it. Anyway, that's my thoughts. So I think he does pretty well. I think he wipes the verse. He may have a little bit trouble in the war arc, especially with Shirazaki, but once he figures out a way to get over anything, and Asta's an insanely smart person in battle IQ, so he'll figure out a way. But he does wipe the verse. Not easily. He does, he still has to climb the ranks and eventually be good, but he will never be a number one hero. He just doesn't have the personality for it. To have that popularity. He would have the strength, but he would be more like Aizawa. Strength, but shadowy strength, even though he wants the power and recognition. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.